Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. Today we're out in my way back garden and we're going to be doing some planting because this is not a plant haul video, this is a planting video. So even though I have new plants, I swear it's not a plant haul, it's planting. So join me today as we put some plants in. These are primarily plants that are for semi-shade or shade, partial shade or shade. And so I'm really trying to also ensure that I have plants that are deer resistant because we get a lot of deer back here. And I think I've got quite a few that are excellent. So I'm gonna put the plants in the hole and I will also show you a tag of each plant after I plant it. So I've got my trusty root slayer shovel here, and I have to admit I did not do a very good job of marking any of the bulbs that I planted back here, figuring I wasn't going to be digging back here again this year, but here I am digging again this year. So I'm going to try to divide this into two. What this is a Rodger and Rodger pinnata superba. And I went to one of my local nurseries that was having its end of season sale, and they often have plants that are just very interesting, much more interesting than what you might see at a big box store. And because of the sale, some of them were half off, some of them were only 20% off, but it's still a much better price than at the beginning of the season. All right, didn't bring my hoary knife back, so I'm just gonna have to use the side of the root slayer shovel here as a saw, which it does very well. And now it's in half. As you can see, it's a little bit woody down in there, but that's okay. Okay, so this Rodger you can see has some pretty fall foliage also. And the great thing about planting right now is it has been raining, so this soil, when it's normally like rock hard because it's clay, I'm actually able to dig quite easily. So I have two of these, and I'm going to put the other one right by it. They get rather large, but I really want them to just fill in this area, and they'll have these beautiful plumes that come up. Soil definitely needs some help still, but it's already starting to get a little bit better. It just takes time. The ajuga that's covering the top of the soil has been here. This is its second full year being out here, and it's really filled in well. And it's helping to keep the ground moist, which allows for more worms and other, biological activity to be happening to help loosen up the soil. Okay, let me show you the tag. Also called Rodger's flower. It grows quite big and it blooms from late spring to summer, and it's in part shade. It does like to have moist soil, and it is 36 to 40 inches tall. It is in zone 4 to 8 hardy, and it is about 38 to 48 inches wide. Now, I don't think it's going to get that big here, but it might. I just don't think it's going to get enough water in this area for it to get really immense. But I'm excited to see how it performs. Okay, let's go see what else we have to plant. Another plant that deer don't really like to eat that much are ferns. They definitely stay away from them. This is a Japanese tassel fern. You saw I planted one of these in my garden, in the woodland garden, and I really like the way that it looks. I just like the texture of the foliage, and I figured it will do really well back here because there is enough shade for it, and if the deer don't eat it, that would be fantastic. So let's get this one planted. to get a little bit of the extra soil off the bottom here. I think I might need to plant this a little deeper. Lots of roots in here. I have to be careful back here because I have a lot of small plants that I've planted, and that just means that you can't see them very well, and sometimes they can get stepped on. That's almost deep enough. I'm just going to spread these roots out a little bit more, which will help with the depth. All right, let's backfill. And because the soil is so wet right now and it's supposed to rain tomorrow, I'm not going to do any watering, you guys. Normally I would. But the soil is so wet already. Just put this juca back in the ground here. Okay, let me show you the tag on this one. So this is the Japanese tassel fern, as I said. This is 12 to 18 inches tall, and it likes light to dense shade. Okay, my next plant is this astrantia, also called a masterwort. And again, these do well in shade, and it also does part shade. And it has blooms on it, which you don't get a lot of plants that bloom that also do really well in shade. So I'm excited to show you the tag on this one. It grows 2 to 2.5 feet tall and about 20 to 24 inches wide. Its foliage very much looks like the foliage of a geranium. And this one is the Astrantia Burgundy Manor. Looks like it has really nice healthy roots. I'm just going to peek and see if there's any spots that I can do an easy division. So I think there's one over on the side here if you want to come take a look. So you can see this is a new little clump that's coming out the side here, so I'm going to try and get this one out so that I have one more plant that I can plant right now and it will grow on really well next spring. To do that, I'm simply going to get my shovel in between I have to separate the leaves first here. They're kind of intertwined. I don't want to break off too much foliage. All right, there we go. And I'm kind of curving my shovel in towards the main roots to make sure I get a little bit of section of roots with this. Okay, now it's separated and I'm just going to finish by pulling it apart. And that's about how easy that is. We're going to dig a hole now and we'll put this one in, and then we'll put the small one in. Now, one thing on a slope, you still want to make it level with the horizontal plane. You don't necessarily want to plant it out this way or it will just grow straight down. Okay, I'm going to plant the small one right up here, maybe. See how well I can dig it. Ooh, I think that might be a little too close. So this ajuga right here, I'm just gonna have to move the ajuga over. That's one of the tricolor, which is named Burgundy Glow. And I just planted it, but clearly I need to move it over to make room for this masterwort. I love also getting plants that are native plants, because typically it means they do really well. Put this one right over here. All right, let me show you the tag now. Again, this is a Astrantia major, also called a masterwort, and it's the Burgundy Manor type, and it is hardy in zones 4 to 7. Also deer resistant. Very excited to see that one come up next spring. All right, let's head over here. I've got a couple more plants. Okay, so this is an area that is definitely going to be hard to fill in, but I am putting in things that are fairly aggressive plants here. I've got vinca, which is also an evergreen. I've got vinca that is variegated, which is also an evergreen. And then I have just put in my Aurelia Sun Kings down here. And on top of that, I have some baby hellebores that are scattered throughout here. And then I have multiple pulmonarias that I split up and are throughout here. So next year is going to be an amazing year to see how these things do, as well as which ones duke it out and are tougher than the others. I am planting in here now this lamium. This is, I think, Purple Dragon. Let me see here. Yes, Purple Dragon. It's also called Dead Nettle. And I will show you the tag on that, but this one has pretty blooms. It is also fairly aggressive. It does reseed, and so it'll be interesting to see how this plays with the vincas. I'm going to try to divide this into a couple of pieces. I have one other of this plant, and I'm going to plant one here, and then I'm going to plant one just a little bit closer to you. Okay, so I'm just going to try to split this one in half. There's no real great way to divide dead nettle. If you've ever planted on a slope, you can appreciate just how difficult it is. If you haven't, I will just tell you it's not the easiest thing to do. I probably could actually get more than just 2 out of this, but for now I'm going to stick with it. Found that when planting on the hill, it's good to try to keep the soil in the hole until you're ready to work with it, or it could just roll right down the hill. There goes a big one right now. I think this is really going to help brighten up the space also, because it has such variegated foliage. Okay, now I'm going to go over here. And of course there's roots everywhere in here, you guys, from all the bushes. There it is. Where did I put my plant? right, those two are in. I'm going to show you the tag and then we're going to do the other two. Here we are. This is the purple dragon dead nettle, and it only gets 6 to 8 inches tall, just like it looks in the container, but it's very hardy. This is hardy from zones 2 to 9. So if you have a really cold climate, lamium's awesome, and it can go in containers really well as a trailer too. Okay, so the next one that I have here is a hypericum, which is also known as the St. John's wort, and it has pretty yellow flowers on it. It does spread aggressively as well by rhizomes or stolons, and that means it's underground roots. So this one is called brigadoon. It's got beautiful bright gold and orange foliage right now because it's fall, so I think that's going to make a really lovely addition. Anything that can help brighten up this area that is also deer resistant is what I was looking for. And boy, are those things hard to find in a big box store. So if you've got tough places to plant, I highly recommend going to a local nursery. I'm just snagging out a couple dandelions here. I highly recommend going to a local nursery and asking what they would recommend. They may have some great native plants for you, and they'll probably be a better price than if you bought them online, as well as a bigger size. One of the things about having clay soil is that it does often prevent some of the more aggressive nature of different plants, but I find it also doesn't matter with some of them. So it's a bit of an experiment to see which ones will be aggressive and which ones won't. But I love all these plants that I've gotten, so if I get a whole mess of a carpet of just one kind, I'll be happy, even if that's the only one that I have. All right, let me show you this tag. This is the color of the brigadoon. This is again the hypericum calicinum. It's St. John's wort, and it's hardy in zones 5 to 9, and it only gets about 12 to 18 inches tall, so not a whole lot higher than this. But about 18 to 24 inches wide, so it definitely will have some spread, and as I said, it sends out underground stolons and will continue to spread. Okay, so now I've finished planting, so we're going to go ahead and just do a walkthrough of the plants that we have done. This is the beautiful Rodger. These will get, again, really nice and tall with some plumes. They're almost akin to having a really large astilbe. And down here we have the tassel fern along with the astrantia. And then you can see over here how that lamium has just really lit up the space, along with that brigadoon at the bottom left, which is the hypericum St. John's wort. So I think some really great additions to this area that help to brighten up a really shady and dark spot in my way back garden. Well, thanks everybody for joining me today. I hope you learned a little bit about some plants that can really tolerate shade and also grow rather rapidly. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time. Bye!